Yeah, Priya, please start.
You want me to start? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the fifth webinar in this series on how do you handle difficult emotions. And the topic that we have thought of speaking of today is fear. And when we talk of fear, I guess it's an emotion which all of us have felt at some point in time for sure. I'm not sure whether the other emotions you have felt or no, but fear is something which I'm very, very certain that we have felt it. Now, why am I saying it with such assertion? Is because all of us are born with this emotion of fear. So whether we like it or we don't like it, it's not something which is triggered, but we are born with two fears, which are the real fears, which anyone experiences. And the two real fears that we are born with is the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Yeah, Vaishali.
I have both.
I can't listen, I'm sorry.
Miss, I have both fears of
You have both. So
loudness.
the good news is that all of us have these two fears. Yeah. The good news also is any other fear other than these two are acquired fears. So any fear other than these two, may it be fear of being lonely or fear of failing or fear of being left out or any other fear that you can probably imagine or anything that you feel you have is something that is acquired at some point of time in the journey of life. And when I say in this journey of life, it can either be acquired from some instance which happened in this current lifetime or something which happened in the past life. And so the good news is that it can be dealt with or it can be undone. When I say undone, we can go back to the root of where it began from. And from there, it can be kind of repaired, if I can use the word. Yeah, that can happen either through therapy or otherwise. And that's what we are here to discuss. Okay. Gayatri, is there anything that you would want to add at this time?
So this is perfect.
Okay. So when we face any fear, the fear usually is trying to only teach us something which can come as a resource for us. Okay. So for example, if I am fearful of doing something, then it is only showing that if I can face it and if I can go ahead despite the fear, then I will get in touch with a resource or I will get in touch with some ability which I have come to learn. Are you getting that? But most times when we are facing a fear, we are fearful to face that fear also, right? And in such situations, there are four things that almost all of us do. The first thing when we face any fearful situation is we want to fight it, thinking we are either equal or bigger than the fear and we can conquer it. So we want to fight it. The moment we feel that the fear is so huge that we cannot conquer it or fight it, the second coping mechanism is we escape, we run away, we flight. Yeah. Many of us, when faced with a fear, get into flight mode. We try to escape it. Okay. So we don't try new things or we don't want to get into the unknown. We say, no, no, not for me. Yeah, because it's a way to escape. The third thing which usually happens is when you can't fight it or you can't run away from it, is you freeze. So, for example, a parent is shouting or an authority figure is shouting at the child. Now the child feels that I cannot fight this authority. The authority figure says, no, you're not going to move from here. You're going to stand here and not even cry. For example, that happens. The child might get into a freeze mode where it's frozen. So it becomes numb. Okay. And hence it cannot feel the fear. So in some situations where we say we go blank or we don't understand, I want to talk, but I don't know, I can't. That's a kind of a freeze mode that we are in. A part of us is frozen to that fear. And the fourth way of, reacting to any fear is fawning. Fawning or you pretend dead. Kuch hua hi nahi. Nothing happened to me. I'm not scared. I'm okay. I'm fine. Everything is good in my world. Yeah. So you pretend as though that did not exist at all. A kind of a denial mode. Or you pretend dead. So when you pretend dead, then your energy level also comes down in such kind of situations. You don't have the energy to respond in a particular way. Now, why is it important to understand these four ways of coping with fear? Is because going back to the root of what is fear trying to teach us is what is the resource that we can get out of it? What is it that we can learn out of it? What is it that we can, like understand about our own selves, that we can do this or we can't do this? So that's a resource, right? So the idea of sharing these four things is, these four ways of coping is, once we understand what our coping mechanism is to any fear, then it gives us at least some amount of strength to stand in the fear. Saying, okay, you know what, I used to escape, but now let me see what's happening. Oh, I'm feeling this. Oh, I feel helpless. Oh, I feel small. Oh, I feel not enough. And then the layers of emotions or the layers of beliefs or the layers of thought processes starts opening. So while talking about this, if any of you have identified any kind of coping or every kind of coping that you have, which is possible, that in different situations and in different fears, we have different kinds of coping, that is also possible. It's a good way to start. It's one step taken, I can say. Small step, but it is still a step. Yeah. Gayatri, did I miss out anything over here, or would you like to add anything about these coping mechanisms or ways to deal with fear?
I just want to say one thing, that fear is one of those painful emotions which comes under the category of it hinders its own solution. Because if you want to work on your fear, what will happen when you think of that particular trigger of which you are fearful? You will immediately start sensing the fear and your coping mechanism will be up. Yeah. So in the beginning, we have spoken about few emotions like guilt and confusion. So fear also falls under the same category, that it will hinder its own solution. So I think that's why we plan to keep it in the end, because by now you have understood basics of painful emotions, and uh, the adult in you requires, is needed to be more determined that no matter how big the fear is for me, but the cost that I'm paying. So when you hold that, despite feeling the fear, so it's like part of you is feeling the fear as soon as you talk about it. And still another part of you, the present part of you says, it's okay. It's okay. I'm still breathing. That means I'm still alive. So fear is not going to kill me and I want to find peace. So that you should be aware of. Whenever you will try to overcome any fear, this will be the first step. And that step itself might, discourage you from looking at your fear. Because the coping mechanisms are very strong. When we are in it, we can't say that. When somebody else is going through that, it is easy for us to distinguish and see it for them. But so you will have to be really, holding yourself on track. And if you can't do that, then seeking help is the best way. Because then the therapist can do that for you. Yeah, Priya.
Yeah, very, very true. In the grip of any emotion, it's very, very difficult to hold ourselves and say this is what is happening. So same as the case with fear. And one very beautiful thing, as Gayatri said, that the adult needs to be stronger than the part of you which is feeling fearful. Now, how does one make the adult stronger? And what gives adult the strength, usually in situations of fear? So the flip side of fear is faith. How do you flip fear? You have faith in the process. Very, very easy said than done. Because in the moment of fear, it is difficult to have the faith. So, that said, smaller the fear, greater can be the faith. So think about situations which you have overcome, small fearful situations which you have overcome. Maybe the first time you learned to ride a car or a cycle. The faith in the process was more than the fear. There was fear. And hence that was overcome and the resource came up, right? So think of any situation of your own past where you have overcome a fear. I'm sure the faith in that moment has been greater than the fear. And hence the resource has become strong. Or has come into the fore. Oh, this is what I had to learn. Oh, now I don't feel fearful about it. The first time it was fearful, now it is not. Because we have learned it. Right? Now, that said, greater the fear, lesser is the faith. Right? But even as Gayatri said, even if the adult says it's okay and I am breathing and I am alive, the faith starts kicking in. That is that 0.1% change in that 100% of fear. And from there, the cycle of the adult getting charged begins. And from there, of course, with the help of a therapist or with other techniques, it is possible to go back to the root and change it from there. That said, in the case of fear, we usually recommend therapy work. That's because as much as the faith becomes stronger, there are cases where the fear doesn't go down, like with affirmations or with, saying good things about yourself or telling time and again, no, things are fine, things are okay, things are happening in my favor, life takes care of itself. This might not bring down the fear completely. This is just the icing to or the coating to a rusted rod, which will surely fade. So it is important, or we have seen, at least in our experience, that when clients come up with the issue of fear, it's important for a third person to handhold them through their own process. They will only do it. They are only going to instill the fear and get the results. But it's easier when there is a third person standing outside and holding you through that process. At least in the emotion of fear, we have seen that. Because it's very alive. It's very, as I said, it is something that we are born with. So it's easy to attract and be fearful. I'm not saying it is difficult to be sad or helpless or, other things. But this is something which your body or your mind can catch on very, very fast because it's real. Yeah. Yeah, Gayatri, anything that you would like to add or share?
Not on this, maybe the next part. This part.
Why don't you do the next part?
Okay. So as Priya said that, there are certain fears which we cannot overcome just by doing the affirmations or building the faith. They can surely go down, reduce, but if you really want to be free from them, then you definitely need therapeutic help. And what kind of fears are? So we generally talk about all the fears in one category. That is, we say, I'm scared of something or I have a phobia. Right? In therapeutic language, fear and a phobia are two different things because your body's physiology responds differently to both the things. So, specifically about a fear, you might have a logical reasoning for it. For example, I experienced drowning when I was 15-year-old and now I'm scared of water. So you have a past experience which you remember. Okay. Or maybe I remember being chased by a dog and being caught by a dog in my childhood. And now I am really scared about a dog approaching me. So here you have a past experience which you remember. And you always have a pause before acting when it comes to fear. For example, you are walking down a street and you see a dog. Yeah. Now you have past experience. You still have time to respond. You may change the lane. You may stop. You may turn around. So you can think and act in terms of fear. In terms of phobia, let's say fear of drowning. You don't recollect any incident of your current lifetime where you have gone near water and you experienced anything dangerous. But you still are so scared that even if you try to go and put your feet in water, your body starts responding, either palpitation or difficulty in breathing, whatever are the sensations. And you think this is not logical. I've just put my feet in water and still I'm feeling so much fear in my body. Yeah. Like I remember one 60-year-old person, CEO of a corporate firm, so scared of a lizard that in his cabin there was a small uh, lizard and he couldn't control the reaction. It was at least 5 feet away and he was standing on the table. Seems very funny, right? But for him, his body can't be, waiting and processing and then deciding should I step there or step here. It just responds as soon as the trigger is there. So if you have any of such fears where you don't even get time to think and your body reacts, then know that those are the fears They are most probably coming from a past life, a past incarnation. And they are called as phobias in language of therapy. 99% of the cases have revealed that usually that particular trigger of phobia has caused death in that previous lifetime. That's the reason body is holding on to that memory and that entire experience so strongly that as soon as there is sight of that trigger, the body reacts. So such strong fears can be helped through simple ways that you reduce them. You desensitize the physical sensations, those come up because of that trigger. But if you really want to be fully free from your phobias or such strong fears, then you need a professional therapeutic help. And as I said, that it won't be easy. Because as soon as the thought of that fear comes, your body will respond. I'm very sure now, if you're thinking about any of your fear like that, your body is already responding. Yeah. So I think what we want you to do is sit with yourself and list out what all the kinds of fears you have and where do you find them, in which category do you find them. And again, I'm not saying that if it is not a phobia, then your fear is not valid. Maybe you have experienced somebody cheating on you financially 10 times. And today you do not trust anybody when they ask for money. Now that is again valid for you. Or maybe you have taken steps in the past to create something new, start something new, and with those resources and understandings, you failed. And somebody used you, your knowledge or your resources, and now you're very scared of sharing your ideas with people or starting something new. So even that is a fear, but it is valid. We are not saying your fears are not valid if they are not phobias. They are. Yeah, but the point is they are coming in your way to do something that you really want to do. So one step at a time. It's like, stepping out of your comfort zone, one step, and you're free to go back. But doing that, zigzag, zigzag, zigzag movement till you find courage to keep your one foot out stably, you're able to breathe, and then you can try the same with the next foot. And that's how you take one step. If you want to do it all by yourself, using affirmations or any other ways, of course, tapping is one of the effective ways to, working through your body. But therapeutic help is necessary because only 2% of the people of any population can overcome their challenges just by determination. And as we said, fear is something which will stop you from looking at it. Maybe those 2% of the people can also not work with fear by themselves. So, I read what Archana said. You identified many fears. So, very good. Sit with yourself, identify your fears, see how strong a fear is for you, and start applying any of the self-help technique with the weakest of your smallest of your fear. So that at least with that one fear going down, you will gain some courage and strength. And also remember, it's okay if you are not ready to deal your strongest fear today. But keep that in your awareness. Because the bigger is the problem, bigger is the resource behind that problem. So there is some kind of resourceful wealth behind your fear, which is there. So let that encourage you. Till then, keep looking at that door and say, today I'm not ready. It's okay. Right? But at least out of these four things, one thing which we usually do is, as for children, I've seen it is very easy to say I'm scared. But as we start growing up, this is not accepted. Many adults have difficulty in just acknowledging the fear. If you go and tell them that you're fearful of this, no, no, I'm not. No, I don't have any fears. Because fear is seen as a sign of weakness. So after today's session, if you are able to sit with yourself and identify your fears in whatever category, whatever is the difficulty level for you, it is your personal game. So one fear which is very difficult for you might be not as difficult for somebody else. That's okay. And in your own awareness, in your own time, work on one fear at a time. And rest of them, keep looking at them, keep acknowledging, and say, I'm walking towards the courage and strength to reach you and resolve. I think that will be a good beginning. Yeah, Priya? Unmute yourself.
Sorry. I think it's okay is a magical statement.
Yeah.
In many situations, it's okay makes a lot of difference. Many times we just want someone to say it's okay.
It's okay, you will do it.
It's okay.
You have come this far. So one day at a time, one step at a time. It's like we don't have to live our entire life in one day. So we don't have to heal all our issues in one day.
One day.
But yeah, instead of keeping them here and pretending that there is nothing, and then making your circle of performance and happiness and joy smaller and smaller, because only this much is possible for me. And trying to tell yourself that I am such a alpa santushti person, that pretense will show up sometime, right? So it's better to keep it here and say, I'm still scared to look at you. Because in awareness, you are telling yourself your own truth, and that will always serve.
One thing which I wanted to add, which came up with speaking to someone today, is, I feel, I could be wrong, but I feel that fear is one emotion which is like, you push your own limits. You can either choose to live with it or you can choose to push your limits. So you don't need a problem. Like you can just sit and identify and say, you know what, I'm scared. And what if I want the resource behind? Fear of unknown is one. Fear of learning new things is one. Small things. Now, these are not something which might create a problem in life, in the current life that you lead. But then, if dealt with or overcome, it can give you very beautiful resource to increase the quality of your life in a manner that you can't even understand today.
Yeah.
So this is something which came up with while speaking to a client today. And she identified this and I said, yeah, this is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I think we can stop the recording and pick up the sharing.